G'day people, I'm Sharon. Welcome to my channel. I've got another pair of pants that are almost made. I've done the pockets, I've done everything except the hems. Although if you have a look at the hems, I have turned them up and I have stitched them down with a very much contrasting thread. Today I want to show you how to do a blind hem, which is something that gives an effect from the outside where you can't see the stitching. So this is more like the sort of thing you would see with a good quality pair of trousers. Men's trousers particularly will have blind hems. There is what I have turned up just with a straight stitch. It's a long straight stitch. So I determined how far it needed to be turned up and I made that as long a straight stitch as I can because I'm going to be taking that out, and the longer the stitch is, the easier it's going to be for me to take it out. You'll notice I haven't done it right up next to where I did the overlocking. This method today, you could either have overlocking around the edge or you could have zigzag around the edge. It works the same. There is a slightly different method that you can use for woven fabrics if you want to fold them in twice, but this is the one I'm looking at today. I've got my machine set up as a free arm down here. The leg of the pant can go all the way around that free arm. On the Janome machines, the G foot is the blind hem foot, and you'll notice this has got a flange underneath. That flange is an important part of how we do a blind hem. So I'm going to take the F foot off and put the G foot on. The most important part of doing blind hems is getting your fabric, your garment, in the right place in your machine. You can see here, this is the inside, not the outside. I'm finding the inside seam, which is here. You do not sew this way. Yes, I need to have the wrong side of the garment up, but I need to move this first. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it under. And in doing that, I've just exposed the inside edge of that hem, and that is where I want to sew. Essentially, I'm sewing like that. There are two kinds of blind hem stitch. One that goes stitch, 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 and then one out to the left, and then stitch, 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 and one out to the left. That is the one for a woven fabric. The one for a stretch fabric, which is the one that I use all the time, does zigzags, and then the occasional one goes out wide. Zigzags, occasional one goes out wide. The reason I use that, it's less likely to get pulled and break the straight stitches. On the edge of where that overlocking is. And I'm going to start by sewing without altering anything on the machine at all. And now I'm going to change this the way that I always change the blind hems that are built into these machines. And what I'm going to do is increase the length of the stitch. So they usually start out at 2. I'm going to make it up to 3.0. And that means that the little bits that move over to the left and take out a bite out of here will be a bit further apart. You can see that needle is over in the left bit at the moment. That's where it's taking a little bite out of this. I'm coming up to my outside leg seam here. When I folded this up and did the straight stitching around, I arranged this so that the seam went in one direction here and the other direction there, because that means that it will sit flatter. And a lock stitch. And when I first started, there are the little bites coming out when I first started, and I had the machine set to 2mm length. Here are the bites when it's set to 3mm length, and they are considerably further apart, and therefore they're less obvious on the right side. Now I may have missed some around here. It's hard to sew around a camera. If you have a flatbed machine, have the leg of the pants in the right way, but you are going to be looking at the inside of that leg. So the rest of the leg is going to go around above. We're going to do the same as we did before. We've got the wrong side in here. We're going to turn this over so that we expose the inside of the hem edge. Starting somewhere around the inner leg seam, I'm going to do the same thing. So stitching, folding that so that it's right at the edge of where my overlocking or serging was. And then I'm going to keep this folded edge against the flange. And there we have it. Once again, I've done it with the stitch length at 3, and on the right side you can see the little piece that's been picked up about once a centimetre or once a half inch. So now all I need to do is unpick that pink thread. If when you did your blind hemming you missed any spots, unless you've missed quite a few of them, I wouldn't even bother going back to try and fix it up. These are pretty good hems. If you've missed a bunch, just go back to that area and stitch across it again. To get this pink thread out now, I will go to about every third stitch and just cut it with my stitch ripper. Turn over to the right side, grab it and pull, and those will just pull out. At the moment you can see perhaps the little holes, the stitch holes. They will go as soon as it's either ironed or washed. They won't be visible anymore. From the outside, that's all you're going to see. And you're up pretty close to it at the moment. So those little tiny bits. As long as your thread matches your fabric, it's not very noticeable. Inside, you're not going to see anything once those little stitch marks are gone. Where it is actually in here. So there's the little places where the thread is coming across. And that's how easy it is to do a blind hem. Blind hems on trousers are not difficult to do. The big trick is working out how to fold them so that when you're sewing on the inside edge of the hem, and only that little bit that flicks over to the left catches the fabric. It's really not hard. See you next time.